The room was cold, not just cold in temperature, but cold in feeling. White walls stretched in every direction, broken only by flat screens and shiny metal equipment. Yeonji Park stood perfectly still, her dark eyes fixed on the genetic analysis screen that hummed softly before her. Numbers and strange symbols danced across the display. Red warning signs blinked in the corner. Something was wrong. Very wrong. Dr. Kim, the lead researcher, adjusted his glasses and looked again. And again, his fingers moved quickly across the digital interface, checking and rechecking the data. Sweat began to form on his forehead, despite the cool, sterile air of the research facility. "This can't be possible," he muttered. Yeonji didn't move. She had always known she was different, but this was beyond anything she could have imagined. The genetic report in front of her was nothing like what she expected. Her DNA was a complete mystery. She remembered her childhood. Growing up in the New Seoul colony was normal. Her parents were kind. Her school was typical. She played sports, studied hard, and dreamed of joining the Galactic Research Division. Nothing about her life suggested she was anything other than an ordinary human. But the screen told a different story. Her genetic markers were unlike anything in the human database. They didn't match any known human genetic profile. Not just a little different, completely unique. Some genetic sequences looked almost alien, while others were recognizably human. It was like someone had taken human DNA and completely redesigned it. Dr. Kim looked up from the screen. His face was pale. "Miss Park," he said, his voice careful and controlled. "When was the last time you had a complete medical examination?" Yeonji thought carefully. 6 months ago. Standard colonial health check. Everything was normal. The researcher didn't respond immediately. His fingers continued to move across the screen, zooming in on different genetic sequences. Each new view seemed to create more questions than answers. Outside the research facility's window, the massive dome of the New Seoul colony stretched across the horizon. Artificial sunlight created a perfect blue sky, with carefully managed clouds drifting slowly. Massive agricultural towers rose in the distance, growing food for millions of colonists. Everything looked peaceful, normal. But inside this room, normal had just disappeared. "Your cellular structure," Dr. Kim said slowly, "shows modifications that shouldn't exist. Your DNA has adaptive sequences that, well, they're beyond current human genetic engineering capabilities." Yeonji felt a chill run down her spine. She had always been healthy. She had always been strong. But now, something fundamental about her was being questioned. "What does that mean?" she asked. Dr. Kim looked up, his eyes showing a mixture of scientific excitement and genuine fear. "It means, Miss Park, that you are not exactly what you think you are." The screens continued to blink. Red warnings mixed with complex genetic diagrams. Outside, the artificial sky remained perfectly blue. But in this moment, Yeonji Park's world had just changed forever. Something extraordinary was about to begin. The archive room was quiet. Dust-covered data crystals lined endless shelves, each holding decades of forgotten information. Yeonji moved carefully between the rows, her fingers trailing along sealed containers marked with faded security clearance stamps. She had spent 3 days gaining access to this restricted section of the Galactic Historical Archive. Her discovery from the genetic lab had driven her to search for answers. Something about her past didn't make sense, and she was determined to find out why. An old maintenance robot rolled past, its sensors blinking slowly. It paid her no attention. Most of these archives hadn't been fully accessed in years. Digital records were easier to manage, but some secrets were still kept in physical form. A small data crystal caught her eye. It was different from the others, slightly yellowed, with a unique identification code that didn't match the standard archival system. Yeonji carefully removed it from its protective case. The crystal was from the early days of human space colonization, a time when humanity was just beginning to understand genetic modification. When survival in harsh planetary conditions seemed impossible without radical changes to human biology. She found a reader and inserted the crystal. The screen flickered to life, revealing a classified document marked with multiple warning seals. Most of the text was redacted, but enough remained to tell a strange story. Project Adaptive Genesis. The words stood out clearly against the partially blacked-out document. Experimental Human Genetic Modification Program. Objective: create human variants capable of surviving extreme environmental conditions. Dates matched the first wave of deep space colonization efforts. Yunji's hands were shaking now. She read further. The document spoke of children. Carefully modified genetic subjects. Not experiments, the text insisted, but potential solutions to human survival challenges. Some were placed with normal families. Tracked. Observed from a distance. A name caught her attention. Her mother's name was listed as a participating medical professional, but not as her biological parent. As a researcher, her world tilted. The memories of her childhood suddenly felt different. Loving parents, careful watch, subtle tests that seemed normal at the time. Annual medical checks that were more thorough than other children's. Small things she had never questioned before now seemed significant. She wasn't just a child. She was a project. A hidden line at the bottom of the document sent a chill down her spine. Subject K714 shows unprecedented genetic stability. Primary adaptive markers successful. K714. That was her. The maintenance robot rolled closer, its sensors detecting her increased heart rate. She quickly copied the data crystal's contents to her personal device. Questions raced through her mind faster than she could process them. Who were her real parents? What exactly made her different? Why had she been placed with a family that seemed completely normal? Outside the archive room, the colony continued its daily routine. Shuttles moved between agricultural towers. People went about their lives. Nobody knew the secret hidden in the small data crystal. Yunji Park was not who she thought she was, and her journey to understanding her true self was just beginning. The robot blinked its sensors. Something was different about this human. Something very different indeed. The alien ship hung in space like a massive crystal of sharp edges and impossible angles. Nothing about its design made sense to human eyes. The Krelvax diplomatic vessel was unlike any spacecraft humans had ever seen before. Yunji stood at the translation station, her hands steady. The room around her was tense. Military officers watched her carefully. Diplomatic experts shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Everyone knew this meeting could change everything. First contact was never easy, but this was different. The Krelvax communication system was a nightmare of complex signals. Most human translation computers crashed within seconds of attempting to process their language. But something about Yunji was different. Where others saw impossible patterns, she saw meaning. The main screen flickered. Strange symbols danced across its surface. Most of the human team saw nothing but random noise. Yunji saw words. No, she saw more than words. She saw layers of communication that went beyond simple language. "They're talking about more than just words," she said quietly. Her voice cut through the tension in the room. The lead diplomat, a veteran of multiple alien negotiations, looked at her. "Explain," he demanded. Yunji pointed to the screen. "Their language isn't just about communication. It's a complex system of mathematical relationships. Each symbol represents multiple layers of meaning. It's not a language. It's more like a living mathematical equation." The room went silent. The Krelvax were known across the galaxy. Silicon-based life forms that had conquered dozens of planetary systems. They were cold, logical, ruthless. No other species had successfully communicated with them beyond basic trading protocols. Until now. Yunji's fingers moved across the translation interface. Where other systems failed, hers began to decode complex patterns. The symbols started to make sense, not just as words, but as a complete communication system. "They're discussing more than diplomacy," she said. Her voice was calm, but something underneath suggested excitement. They're testing us, watching how we communicate. The military officers leaned forward. This was more than a diplomatic meeting. This was a probe, an examination. On the screen, the Krelvax communication became clearer. Their language was a mix of mathematical principles, electromagnetic signals, and complex spatial relationships. It was beautiful and terrifying. Yunji realized something important. The Krelvax didn't just communicate. They thought differently. Their entire way of understanding the universe was alien to human perception. But she could understand them. "They know something is different about me," she whispered. Her genetic modifications, the ones discovered in the research facility, were proving useful in ways no one could have predicted. The lead diplomat's hand touched her shoulder. "Can you maintain communication?" Yunji nodded, but her mind was racing. This was about more than translation. This was a first step into something much larger. Outside the communication room, the alien ship continued to float in the darkness of space. Silent, waiting. The first true conversation between humans and the Krelvax was about to begin. And Yunji Park would be at the center of everything. The medical testing room was bright. Too bright. Yunji sat quietly while machines scanned every part of her body. Scientists watched through thick glass walls, their eyes wide with surprise. Something was happening. Something impossible. The first test involved radiation. Normal humans would die within minutes of exposure. Yunji sat calmly as waves of dangerous energy passed through her body. Her skin didn't burn. Her cells didn't break down. Instead, they seemed to absorb and transform the radiation. Dr. Lee, the lead researcher, checked the readings again and again. His hands were shaking. "This shouldn't be possible," he muttered. Yunji knew she was different, but she didn't know how different until now. The next test was even more strange. They placed her in a vacuum chamber, a space that would kill a normal human in seconds. Her lungs didn't collapse. Her blood didn't boil. Instead, her body seemed to create its own protective field. Her cellular structure was changing in real time. Microscopic cameras showed something incredible. Her cells could adapt. They could rebuild themselves faster than any known human healing process. A small cut would close in seconds. A broken bone would reset itself within minutes. But it wasn't just physical changes. During one test, they discovered she could see things other humans couldn't. Electromagnetic waves, radiation spectrums. Her eyes picked up signals that were invisible to normal human perception. It was like she had extra senses. The military was very interested. Commanders watched the test results with hungry eyes. They saw a weapon, a perfect soldier, someone who could survive where others would die instantly. Yunji felt different. This wasn't about being a weapon. This was about understanding herself. More tests followed. They discovered she could withstand extreme temperatures, freezing cold that would stop a human heart, burning heat that would melt human skin. Her body adjusted, adapted, survived. The research team looked scared and excited. "Your genetic modifications," Dr. Lee explained, "are unlike anything we've ever seen. It's like someone redesigned human biology from the ground up." Yunji thought about the classified document she found in the archives. Project Adaptive Genesis. Now she understood why they called it that. She wasn't just modified. She was redesigned. The final test of the day was the most surprising. They introduced her to alien technology recovered from previous space missions. Most human systems couldn't interface with these advanced devices. But Yunji could. Her body seemed to create a natural bridge between human technology and alien systems. Computers that were completely locked came to life when she touched them. Complex alien interfaces became readable. The military officers looked at each other. This was more than a medical breakthrough. This was a game changer. Outside the testing room, the colony continued its normal life. Shuttles moved between buildings. People went about their daily routines. Nobody knew about the extraordinary human sitting just meters away. Yunji Park was something new. Something different, the first of her kind. And her journey was just beginning. Alarms screamed across the new ancient colony. Red lights flashed everywhere. The Krelvax attack came without warning. Massive alien ships filled the sky. They looked like giant crystal weapons, cutting through the protective shields of the human colony. Smaller attack units dropped from the main ships like deadly metal raindrops. Yunji watched from the underground military control center. Her hands were calm, her breathing steady. While everyone else panicked, she remained perfectly still. The colony's defenses were falling apart. Laser cannons exploded. Defensive shields flickered and died. Thousands of colonists were running, trying to reach emergency shelters. But Yunji knew something the others didn't. She was a weapon, the living weapon. The military commanders looked at her. Their faces showed fear and hope. "We need you to go out there," the senior officer said. His voice was hard. "We need you to do something no one else can do." Her modified DNA wasn't just about survival, it was about fighting. Yunji moved quickly. She didn't need special armor. She didn't need advanced weapons. Her body was the weapon. Outside, the Krelvax attack units moved with machine-like precision. They were killing everything in their path. Metal legs, sharp energy weapons. No emotion, no mercy. But they didn't know about her. She walked out into the battlefield. No protection, no heavy weapons, just herself. The first Krelvax attack unit saw her. Its sensors locked on. A killing beam of pure energy shot toward her. Normal humans would die instantly. Yunji didn't even move. The energy beam hit her body and changed. Her cellular structure absorbed the attack, transformed it. The alien weapon's energy became something else entirely. The Krelvax unit stopped, confused. More units arrived. They attacked. She stood still. Each attack made her stronger. Her body wasn't just defending. It was learning, adapting, understanding alien technology with each passing second. Suddenly, she could see their communication networks. Not just see them, understand them, interrupt them. The Krelvax units began to lose coordination. Their perfect attack became confused. The military watched through long-range cameras. They couldn't believe what they were seeing. Yunji was fighting an entire alien invasion, alone. Her body moved differently now. Not human, not alien, something in between. She could interface with their technology, break their systems from the inside. The Krelvax had conquered dozens of planets, destroyed entire civilizations. They thought humans were weak. They were wrong. One modified human stood between the aliens and the colony. One person created from a secret project decades ago. One weapon that was never supposed to exist. The battle continued. The colony watched. The universe held its breath. Yunji Park was more than human, and she was fighting back. The computer room was silent. Yunji sat alone, surrounded by screens that showed complex communication networks. Her fingers barely touched the interfaces, but something was happening. The Krelvax communication system was like a massive brain. Billions of signals moving every second. Most humans saw nothing but noise. Yunji saw patterns, connections, weaknesses. She wasn't just listening. She was changing things. Each alien communication channel began to shift. Messages became confused. Complex battle plans started to fall apart. The Krelvax relied on perfect information. Now, their information was breaking down. A military communications officer watched in shock. "How are you doing this?" he asked. Yunji didn't look up. "I'm speaking their language," she said, but it wasn't just a language of words. It was a language of signals, of energy, of complex mathematical relationships. Her modified DNA gave her something special. She could see communication differently. Where others saw signals, she saw living systems. She could whisper into these systems, change them from the inside. The first signs of trouble appeared in the Krelvax battle network. Small changes at first. A communication unit would send a wrong coordinate. A weapon system would aim in the wrong direction. Battle groups would receive conflicting orders. The aliens were losing their perfect coordination. Eunji's mind worked differently. She didn't attack their systems. She didn't break them. She changed them. Slowly, carefully, like a virus that rewrote the rules of communication. Military leaders watched in amazement. Their screens showed the Krelvax attack breaking down. Units that once moved with perfect precision now seemed confused, lost. "It's like she's talking to their entire communication network," one commander whispered. And she was. Her body could create electromagnetic signals that matched the Krelvax communication frequency. But she did more than match. She understood. She could introduce small changes, tiny mistakes that would grow. A battle unit would receive an order to attack, but the order would be slightly wrong, just enough to create confusion, just enough to make them hesitate. The Krelvax had conquered many worlds. They were used to perfect communication, total control. Now something was breaking their system. Eunji closed her eyes. The communication networks around her became like a giant map in her mind. She could see every signal, every connection, and she could change them. Small changes became big changes. Entire Krelvax battle groups began to lose coordination. Their perfect attack became a mess of confused signals and wrong orders. They were fighting themselves as much as they were fighting humans. The military watched. This was more than a battle. This was a new kind of warfare. One human, changing everything. Outside, the battle continued. But something was different. The Krelvax were no longer the perfect killing machine they had been moments before. Eunji Park was rewriting the rules of war. And she was just getting started. The Krelvax mothership was huge. It looked like a massive crystal floating in the darkness of space. Most human ships would be destroyed just trying to get close. But Eunji was different. Alarms screamed inside the human command center. The final battle was about to begin. "We have one chance," the senior commander said. His voice was hard. "Serious. You're our only hope." Eunji understood what that meant. She wasn't just a soldier. She was a weapon. A living weapon created decades ago for this exact moment. The mothership's defenses were impossible. Layers of energy shields. Weapon systems that could destroy entire planets. No human technology could break through. But her modified DNA made her something else. She didn't need a spaceship. She didn't need special equipment. Her body was the equipment. As she prepared to launch, the military team watched in silence. She would either save humanity or die trying. There was no middle ground. The launch was simple. No rocket. No complex system. Just Eunji moving through space. Her body created its own protective field. Radiation that would kill normal humans became her fuel. The cold of space became her friend. Where other humans would freeze or burn, she adapted. The Krelvax mothership's sensors detected her, but they couldn't understand what they were seeing. She wasn't a normal attack. She wasn't a weapon they recognized. She was something new. As she approached, her body began to change. Not physically, something deeper. Her cellular structure was learning, analyzing, understanding the alien technology around her. The first defense layer tried to stop her. A massive energy wave that would destroy any normal attack. Eunji passed through it like it was nothing. Inside the mothership, everything was strange. Alien technology that humans had never seen before. But to her, it was like reading a book. She could understand its language, its structure. The Krelvax were perfect, logical. They had conquered dozens of worlds. They thought they knew everything. They were wrong. Her modified DNA did something impossible. She could interface with their technology, not just understand it, control it. Where they saw a perfect system, she saw weaknesses. Layer by layer, she broke down their defenses, not with weapons, with understanding. The ship's main neural network was its brain, the place where all decisions were made. Most humans would never find it. would never understand it. Yoonji walked right to its center. Her body became a living computer virus. She didn't destroy their system. She changed it, rewrote it, showed them something they had never seen before. Confusion spread through the mothership. Systems that were perfect began to fail. The Krelvax had no way to understand what was happening. One modified human was destroying their entire attack. Outside, human ships watched in disbelief. The massive Krelvax mothership began to break apart. Not from weapons, from something they couldn't understand. Yoonji had done what no one thought was possible. She had saved humanity. And her journey was just beginning. The hearing room was quiet. Important people sat in a big circle. Scientists, military leaders, government officials. They all looked at Yoonji. She sat alone at the center of the room. "Explain what happened," the lead investigator said. His voice was hard, serious. Yoonji knew this wasn't a simple question. This was about more than the battle. This was about her entire existence. The truth was complicated. She told them about Project Adaptive Genesis, about the secret program that created her decades ago, about children modified to survive impossible conditions, to protect humanity in ways nobody could understand. "I'm not a mistake," she said clearly. "I'm a solution." The room went silent. Military records showed the full story. Decades ago, when humans first started exploring deep space, they knew survival would be hard. Normal human biology couldn't handle extreme environments. Radiation, cold, different atmospheres. So they created a solution. Children like her. Genetic modifications that went beyond normal human limits. Ability to adapt, to survive, to protect. She was the most successful of these modifications. Some people in the room looked scared. Some looked excited. Most looked confused. "What are you?" one scientist asked. Yoonji thought carefully. "I'm human," she said. "Just improved." The debate was intense. Was she a weapon? A person? Something in between? The ethical questions were huge. They had created a human who was more than human, who could do things no one thought possible. Her genetic profile was unique. Her abilities were beyond anything they had imagined. She could survive in space, interface with alien technology, adapt to impossible conditions. But she was more than just her modifications. She talked about her childhood, about her family, about growing up believing she was normal, about discovering the truth. Her story was personal, human. The military saw a weapon. The scientists saw a breakthrough. But Yoonji saw herself. "I'm not a tool," she told them. "I'm a person. I chose to protect humanity. Not because I was ordered, but because I wanted to." Her words changed everything. The hearing went on for hours. They discussed her origins, her abilities, her rights. Some wanted to study her more. Some wanted to keep her secret. Some wanted to celebrate her. But Yoonji had her own plans. She wasn't going to be locked in a lab. She wasn't going to be a secret weapon. She was going to choose her own path. The final decision was complicated. She would be free. But they would watch her, study her, try to understand her. Outside the hearing room, the world had changed. Humanity now knew something important. They could create something more, something better. Yoonji Park was more than a weapon, more than an experiment. She was the future, and her journey was just beginning. The research ship moved slowly through space. Stars stretched out in every direction. Darkness mixed with tiny points of light. Yoonji stood at the observation window, looking out. Everything was different now. After the battle with the Krelvax, she had a choice. Stay on Earth, become a weapon, a tool for governments and military teams, or explore, learn, understand her true potential. She chose to explore. This wasn't a military mission. This was a journey of discovery. The first ship designed specifically for her unique abilities. Her modified DNA could do things no other human could do. The ship's computer was unlike any other. It could adapt, learn, change based on her needs. Where normal computers saw limits, this one saw possibilities. Incoming signal, the ship's AI said. Most communication systems would struggle with deep space signals. Not this one. Yunji could understand communications that other humans couldn't even detect. Her body was more than a body. It was a living sensor, a bridge between human technology and the unknown. Scientists had learned so much from her. Her genetic modifications showed humanity's potential, what humans could become, how they could adapt, survive, grow. The ship passed through an asteroid field. Normal ships would need complex navigation systems. Yunji simply understood the movement. Her body could predict paths, avoid dangers. She wasn't just traveling, she was learning. Each new star system was a chance to understand more about herself, about humanity's place in the universe. The Krelvax battle was just the beginning. Communication logs showed something interesting. Other species were watching. They had seen what one modified human could do. They were curious, scared, interested. Humanity wasn't weak anymore. The ship's computer showed potential mission locations, unexplored systems, dangerous environments, places no human had ever gone before. Yunji understood something important. She wasn't just a weapon. She wasn't just a test subject. She was a bridge between what humans were and what they could become. Her DNA didn't match normal human profiles, but her spirit was completely human. Courage, curiosity, the desire to explore, to understand, to grow. More modification subjects existed. Other children from Project Adaptive Genesis. Some knew about their origins, some didn't. She would find them, help them understand. The universe was huge, full of mysteries, dangers, possibilities, and she was ready. Her modified body could survive in ways no one thought possible. Radiation, extreme temperatures, different atmospheres. She wasn't limited by normal human weaknesses, but she was more than her abilities. She was a person, choosing her own path, writing her own story. The ship moved forward. Stars moved past the window. Endless possibilities stretched out before her. Eunji Park looked into the darkness and smiled. Her journey was just beginning.